happening Travel. That was really cool. Did a great job.
And Faye reminded me that this is our first time anchoring together on Queer News Tonight since the new year.
All year? Yeah.
Last year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
David, what did you do to get into the doghouse?
I don't know.
How'd you cross Faye? Because that's how it works.
They replaced me with
it's that Jersey,
Puerto Rican, Colombian thing.
No, it's the Sopranos thing.
It really is. I will cut you. I will cut you, and that's okay.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 7 p.m. Monday, April 12th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
The world's first live daily queer evening news show, Out of the Closet and Into the Headlines on Q News Tonight.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited, live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it.
This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome anchor Faye. What? She's out, she's proud, and of course she knows what I'm getting ready to say. She's most certainly loud.
No, I'm not that loud.
Yes, she is. She's a Latina to be reckoned with, half Puerto Rican, half Colombian, and 100% freaking Jersey. She's a radio personality and has the popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, a board member at Unity Coalition, and host of UC TV's television show, an animal activist and owner of Faye's Fur Family, and is also the anchor of the travel news show Happening Out.Travel. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, boys. Hola, mi gente. So happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too. Next, let's welcome anchor David Hopkins. David is a local philanthropist who has worked in the local charity community for the past 8 years, helping to raise over $100,000 through various events with the Lambda Men's Brotherhood. He is also one of the hosts with Faye on the new Happening Out.Travel Club travel news show. Good evening, David.
Hey, good to see everybody tonight.
Well, I'm so honored that I'm sitting here for the first time with both of you. I've just watched your show. It was great. Well, tonight we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, April 12th, 2021. We begin by queering up trans rights. Tucker Carlson. Transgender people threaten the perpetuation of the species. As dozens of GOP-led states target transgender people with proposals limiting health care and youth sports participation, Fox News host Tucker Carlson added more transphobic talk this week to the national conversation. Watch this.
Is society self-sustaining to some extent? If 30% of men simply aren't willing or able to sleep with women, if another 2 or 3% of, in particular, young women want to modify their bodies so they cannot, in many or most cases, have children, I mean, that's something that's an issue almost at the structural level. And you might ask, why is that going on? It's something that at very least needs research.
It's a challenge to the perpetuation of the species, is what you're saying. And
if both trends increased, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that was Tucker's guest, Wilfred Riley, a Kentucky State University political science professor and author of a book called Hate Crime Hoax: How the Left is Selling a Fake Race War. He claimed that there's an increase of people identifying as transgender on Fox Nation's Tucker Carlson Today. Riley said more women are now changing gender and, quote, "These questions are very tough to discuss because they're serious questions. Do I sound sarcastic? I mean, is society self-sustaining to some extent if 30% of men simply aren't willing to be able to sleep with women? If another 2 or 3%, in particular young women, want to modify their bodies so they cannot, in many or most cases, have children? I mean, that's something that's an issue almost at the structural level. And you might ask why. Why is it going on? It's something that at the very least needs research, end quote. Carlson shockingly responded to that statement. It's a challenge to the perpetuation of the species. After Carlson said yes, Carlson then said, quote, "That's right, and it's hard to think of anything more profound than that," end quote. Fox News, which broadcasts Carlson's primetime show, has filled its airwaves with programs in which host and guest have obsessed about LGBTQ rights since President Joe Biden took office, promoting equality.
Tucker Carlson, I can't stand you. I don't like your hair either. All right? Let me tell you something right now. If I was straight, okay, and you were the only man on earth and we needed to procreate and fill this place, I would think about like changing my gender.
So I'm a big nerd, and what you say actually makes perfect biological sense. A lot of creatures will change gender when there's no viable male mates around. And with people like Tucker Carlson, can you wonder why we're producing more males that were assigned female at birth?
Bam and bam. So I'm not even coming in on that conversation. The one thing that I will say, this is a brand new product that started just this last week for Tucker Carlson. He can't get any crazier than he does at 8 o'clock on Fox News, except to do this Fox Nation program online. And the only way you can do it is pay $5 a month to subscribe to him. So for all of you that are paying $5 a month to subscribe to Tucker Carlson, you're not on my friends list at Facebook. Yeah. Sorry.
No puedo. Next, we queer up South Florida. West Palm Beach honors Gay Bar as a landmark site of historic interest. The city of West Palm Beach in South Florida has added a long-running LGBTQ bar, HG Roosters, to its register of historic places. It makes it the only gay venue in Florida to be recognized as a designated historical site, and only the third in the United States, after the Stonewall Inn in New York City and Atlanta Eagle in Atlanta. HG Roosters can be found at 823 Belvedere Road. In the motion to recognize its importance, it was noted that, quote, the site has been a safe gathering space for the LGBTQ community for over 60 years. It has also been instrumental in being a leader in philanthropic efforts on behalf of the AIDS pandemic, breast cancer, and other charities, as well as sponsoring various gay pride initiatives, end quote. Roosters dates back to 1984, but previous to it, it was under a different name, including Turf West in the 1960s. The Historic Preservation Board previously agreed to the designation in March, but it came before the City Commission for a vote on Monday, April 5th. Afterward, owner A.J. Wasson said, quote, "This evening's vote was unanimous. It's a huge honor to be recognized. Our hearts are full," end quote. Sadly, Roosters suffered a fire last May. There's a GoFundMe that has raised close to $59,000 of its $100,000 target. Wasson said Roosters will definitely reopen, and now with historic designation.
This whole story makes me so happy. First of all, because it was voted on my birthday, but also I love dive bars, and I don't mean dirty bars. I just mean the old bars. They're just part of the community. They're cheap. They're friendly. Here in Fort Lauderdale, we have the Ramrod, and that's our leather bar. And HG Roosters was like the drag dive bar. It was so much fun anytime I've been there, and I'm so happy to see this.
You know, here's an admission that'll probably open me to attack at my fellow compadres at the table. But I went to HG Roosters, and not living here on the East Coast, but I went to the HG Roosters in the 80s and the 90s. I haven't been there in probably 20 years since. The story also makes me happy. At Queer News Tonight, we continue to report what's happening in gay culture. And one of the identifications of gay culture is our gay bars. We've reported in just the last week, there are only 15 lesbian bars left in all of America. And there are projections that over the next 36 months, all of them will end. There are only 1,000 predominantly gay men, male identifying bars in America. So for Roosters to get this designation, the only third gay bar in America to get historic status, is really quite exciting. And I hope we hope here in South Florida it helps propel HD Roosters for another 60 years.
Yes, sir. LGBTQ community, you've got to go support these places. We can't lose more of our LGBTQ places. We can't, you know, and just like Al said about the 13 lesbian bars, that's it. That's incredible. Go support HD Roosters. They have a GoFundMe. Go make them, allow them to get that $100,000 mark. You know, I'm really happy that this sheds light on the place, and I hope that more people will be attracted to go by there.
Mm-hmm. And next, we queer up entertainment. Channing Tatum producing Magic Mike competition series for HBO Max.
Oh, I'm listening closely now.
Oh yeah, Move Over RuPaul's Drag Race, a new reality competition series for the girls and the gays, is on its way. Channing Tatum and Steven Soderbergh have signed on to executive produce The Real Magic Mike, a non-scripted competition show for HBO Max. According to the press release, quote, the series will transform a group of men into real-life Magic Mikes. 10 men who have lost their magic will come together in a competition series, bearing their souls and more, as they learn to perform routines, with one being crowned the real Magic Mike. The winner will pocket a cash prize and an opportunity to perform on the Magic Mike live stage in Las Vegas, end quote. Sarah Aubrey, HBO Max's head of original content, said, quote, from box office hits to sold-out live shows, Magic Mike has proven to be a pop culture juggernaut that continues to delight people across the globe, especially as gay men. We're excited to work with Channing, Steven, and the team behind Magic Mike Live to continue the successful franchise that celebrates self-confidence and sexiness both inside and out, end quote. Casting for the series is currently underway and is expected to premiere on the streaming platform later this year.
Get your ticket.
I want to break news that I am applying for Magic Mike right now.
For,
I just want to,
for what?
For Magic Mike.
Like for a judge?
To be on the show.
Can be a taste tester.
Tester. You know, I don't like either one of you, by the way.
Yeah, we know.
It's interesting to me. Look, if you can wear a wig and be successful, and we follow it, if you can be a top chef and be successful, and we follow it, if you can be in, insert the blank, wait, finally, one more new category, and that is being a male stripper. I think it's fantastic. I, for sure, am going to watch this show.
Do we need another male review in Las Vegas, though? There's that down under guys that, I don't know, whatever.
Down under.
Whatever they're called, the guys.
The lesbian going, there's some show.
And the Chippendales or something like that. Are those people still around with the bows or something? No?
This is not the 1970s. Get back into your time.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know if this will actually make it, but it actually does give Tatum some, like, back into the flow of things. He hasn't really done anything recently. So, I mean, yeah. You know, I mean, HBO Max brought us Legendary. Okay, I have to really have faith in their programming skills.
Have faith.
Yeah, and you know, exotic dancing, I have a lot of friends that it is, it's challenging. It takes confidence, it takes skills, it takes athleticism. I can't say the word, I'm just thinking of naked men dancing right now. Yeah, that's...
You're so gay, David.
So gay.
Oh,
well, you know,
so
when it comes to women, I do love Scarlett's here in town because they put on a really good show there. So if Faye and the girls want to go anytime, I'm up.
All right. Well, next, let's queer up gay culture. A decade of Eric Lanuit's beautiful and diverse men. At Queer News Tonight, we work very hard to introduce you to the best of gay culture, authors, books, painters, musicians, photographers, and more. Tonight, we introduce you to Eric Lanuit. He represents a brave and unafraid journey into the imagination. As Advocate Magazine says about him, finding the right images to share on an LGBTQ+ website that packs a powerfully sexual punch but doesn't scare the horses in the street is a challenge. I love that. Whether Eric creates a loving homage of Tom of Finland or makes a truly shocking image with the statuette of Jesus, Eric brings a level of perfection of execution and a lightness of touch that makes it all work beautifully. It's called good taste, kids. Nudity is not enough for Eric. His images and photographic images need to have a point of view and an attitude, and he has a surprising freedom in doing that. He is irreverent, but maintains a strong reverence and dignity for the male body. He plays with dreamy homages to classical art that don't sink into imitations because he injects pop art freshness and a zip of quiche. You can get more information and purchase Eric's amazing book at ericlanuit.fr or stop by Eric Lanuit on Instagram or Facebook.
I'm surprised at how much attention you guys were giving to the screen. Most of these guys have clothes on.
A hot guy's a hot guy, clothes on or not, and they struck a great balance with Eric Lanuit's images there. You know, it's super sexy. I like the guy with the hat and the underwear. That was my favorite.
I'm very proud of association with Queer News Tonight because we do stories like this. And in digital, you wouldn't see something like this. This would be very hard to put in front of you. And it's an obligation, I think, that we all have to be able to talk about things more than the drag queen that's going to perform in a bar. We love that.
We love that.
But there's more to our community, both for girls and guys and non-binary. And this is an example of it. I love the story.
Next, we queer up South Florida. Lawmakers are feeling the heat, and Equality Florida wants you to send a thank you note. Equality Florida's business outreach manager, Renee Cantu, reminds all of us at Queer News Tonight that political activism is not just in the ask, but also in the thank you. When it comes to protecting Florida's transgender youth, the Miami Heat isn't sitting on the sidelines. Earlier this week, the team spoke out against the trans sports ban advancing through the Florida legislature. Their statement says, quote, "The Miami Heat champions diversity and inclusion both on and off the court. We believe sports are at their best when they bring people together to work, to play, and to create a sense of belonging for all. Every young person deserves the opportunity to participate in athletics and experience the critical life lessons that sports offer, such as wellness, dedication, problem solving, and leadership. Sports should be welcoming for all," end quote. This is a big deal. The Miami Heat is one of the largest sports organizations in the nation to publicly stand against these cruel bans for transgender youth in sports. It's amazing. Now that's a win on and off the court. So Equality Florida reminds us to simply say thank you. And we could not agree more. And so many states and the farthest right of the Republican infrastructure is using trans as the wedge issue for 2022. The Miami Heat reminds us of the good stewards businesses and professional sports teams can be. And the Miami Heat symbolizes that leadership. Send them a message of thanks by going to eqfl.org. That's eqfl.org, and send a message of support and thank you. For everyone in the LGBTQ community, it is a perfect opportunity for activism, but in a completely different way.
First of all, I love Renee Cantu. He's a friend of mine. He's amazing. I also love that the Miami Heat's doing this. You know, former Heat player Dwayne Wade, with his transgender daughter, has been very publicly supporting the trans community. So it's really amazing that the Miami Heat, even though he's not on the team anymore, is doubling down on that and helping support.
You know, and I like the message here that Renee Cantu brings from Equality Florida. Activism is not just in the ask, it is also in the thank you. And it's a good, fresh reminder to our entire community. We're seeing lots of victories since the November election. We're seeing lots of victories in the LGBTQ community since the January 20th inauguration. We should be grateful every step of the way of those victories, and along with the gratefulness requires the thank you, and to remind those that are helping to propel the LGBTQ community, especially those that are outside of our community, thank you for your help and your support.
Heat Nation, baby, Heat Nation. No, they're huge supporters of our LGBTQ community, and this is just another way that they show us that they are definitely standing by us.
Absolutely.
Next, we queer up the world. Mayor of Polish LGBT-free town faces consequences. Quote, "We have become Europe's laughingstock," end quote. Life comes at you fast when you're the mayor of a Polish LGBT-free town that's facing financial ruin over a public declaration of homophobia. The small community of Krasnik in eastern Poland was among the first in the country to sign a declaration against LGBT+ rights in May of 2019. Few people paid attention to the political stunt back then, except for us at Queer News Tonight, and Mayor Wojciech Wilk didn't see much harm in what appeared to be a, quote, "symbolic and legally pointless gesture," end quote. To him, it seemed cost-free as a sop to conservatives in the rural and religiously devout region, but he'd soon come to realize it would be very costly indeed. He told the New York Times that, quote, "The declaration has turned our town into a synonym for homophobia. We've become Europe's laughingstock, and it's the citizens, not the local politicians, who have suffered the most," end quote. The mayor says he's now scrambling to contain the damage as the town's commitment to bigotry jeopardizes millions of dollars in foreign funding. The mayor worries that unless his town's LGBT-free status is rescinded, he has little chance of securing foreign funds to finance electric buses and youth programs. These youth programs are particularly important, he explained, because young people, according to the mayor, keep leaving.
Well, of course they do. You know, we have reported on this town and many others like it in Poland for well over a year and a half. If you expect me to cry you a river, you're not getting it. You have created LGBTQ free zones, and what that means is there can be no discussion of LGBT at all, no images, no rainbow flags, much less pride events or anything else. It is the epitome of homophobia. The result was this town lost its French twinning city, and it cost them about $4 million. The Norwegians withheld a $12 million contract to this small city for financial redevelopment in the city. And they've lost millions of others in support and business association, with now the European Union saying it's not only illegal, we're going to withhold EU funds to you because of your discrimination stance. So if you expect us to cry a river in terms of the results of your homophobia, sorry, it's not coming from Queer News tonight.
At all. Hey, Mayor W., I can't say your last name, so I'm not even going to try. I have a feeling that you're not going to be in office for a lot longer, sir. Bye-bye. What did you think? You really thought that nobody was going to do anything about this? It's incredible. I feel sorry for anybody that this has hurt in your town, but for you, this is me laughing at you. You're a laughing stock.
Yeah, wait. I almost feel, oh no, it's not tears, just allergies. You know, what this and also the stuff going on in Georgia right now has shown is that people are sick of discrimination, and they've learned that if you want to make a change, you take your dollars with you and leave the scene. And, you know, I'm happy to see it, because that's all it takes for politicians these days, because it's all about money. So until you hurt them in the money, they don't care.
Yeah. Well, that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020.
Tonight, we report the devastating effect coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community in total cases and deaths. We also provide hope of a new light at the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,234,000 LGBTQ Americans have contracted COVID-19, and more than 40,300 LGBTQ Americans have died from coronavirus. As of today, though, more than 187 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
Well, next, let's queer up then Quarantine Quickies. Mask burning rally in the gayest place on planet Earth. Wait, what? Watch this.
Hear the truth, okay? And so they go around with the mask on their face, outside, in their cars, wherever. And if you would take that mask off and put it under the microscope, you're going to find all kinds of germs that you don't want to inhale.
Throw them in, baby. Yeah, take it off and throw it in. Yeah. Oh, no, we got a lot of masks. You hear us right now? We're dumping stuff. Yeah. Jesus Christ. We are Colorado. Let's go.
Well, this weekend, what was called a Million Mask March to protest COVID-19 restrictions was held. That's not so unusual. After all, the LGBTQ community has seen this in plenty of instances in places like Idaho and Texas and other very reliable red locations. But what was unusual is this protest was held in the heart of the gayest place on planet Earth, Fort Lauderdale. In fact, at the intersection of A1A, Fort Lauderdale's beautiful beach road, and the fashionable corner with Las Olas Boulevard. In fact, The protest was held on the same corner that Happening Out television network broadcast the live to the nation Fort Lauderdale Pride Parade. The protest included mostly Trump flag wavers and banners and posters that reflected displeasure, and I'm using a polite word, to Joe Biden. A feature of the event included no social distancing and open burning of masks. The Million Mask March included just a few hundred people. Very loud, very angry, very ignorant people.
Very stupid people, Al and David. Very, very, very stupid people. Did you see that guy with his shirt that it said masks are slavery? Are you freaking kidding me? Get away from me with this story. Now, we're going to start burning bras, then I'm there.
You know, it's funny, that wasn't just the corner, but where they had that little thing with the masks burning it was exactly where our stage was when we broadcast Fort Lauderdale Pride on the beach. So to see that same corner being used from freedom and celebration to just people being dumb, okay, you know, they just need to stop. They're making more people think we live in Florida. Duh.
Yeah. You know, I have to say that this is a really disappointing sign of the times in 2021. First off, wearing a mask is analogous to being able to smoke. Can you smoke in a restaurant today or in a movie theater, on a plane? The Supreme Court has ruled on this. All of the casework is complete in the courts. You do not have a right to do that when balanced with health needs, which is what happened on smoking. Second, you can't leave the United States and haven't been able to for more than 20 years with many required vaccinations. And vaccinations in terms of requirements in the United States if you send your children to school. All completely defined that the individual rights of the individual as it related to health needs did not outweigh community need. It's all case law resolved. So these people are screaming and spitting into the wind in ridiculousness. And that is because we've had 4 years of Donald Trump making everything political and making them think that they have some right that you do not have.
And let's face it, a lot of those people look better with masks on.
Wow, David. Wow. So that is our COVID-19 news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ community. An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership.
The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Hi everybody, my name is Eddie Marti-Kring and I'm your field and community organizer for SAVE, Safeguarding American Values for Everyone, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, in that same vein, Happening Out Television Network is sponsoring the OUTshine Film Festival, one of America's most important LGBTQ film festivals. It begins later this month in April. We're going to tell you lots about it in coming weeks. Watch this.
Get your tickets now for the 23rd annual edition of the OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival, happening April 23rd to May 2nd. Don't miss our incredible grand opening drive-in event, followed by 10 days of non-stop films from here and all around the world that you can watch at home. Watch trailers and get your tickets at OUTshineFilm.com now.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, next, Queer News Tonight is proud to support our local events here in South Florida. And tonight we are very happy to feature Liliana, Ortega, Camareno, and Julio Taveras with their Poetry in Public Places project, part of Miami Poetry Festival.
You did that great, Al. Liliana is a creative writer and curator based between Miami and Puerto Rico, whose work focuses on documentation as a sixth-generation colonial subject. They predominantly work with a combination of video, photography, text, and repurposed archival information.
Attachment is an international letter exchange connecting different cultures and languages throughout the American continent, helping ease confinement blues to residents in South Florida. It'll enable poets to write care letters for folks across the area that have dealt with mental distress as a result of physical and social isolation during the past year. They want people to experience other cultures simply by walking to their mailbox.
Interesting. To tell us more about their upcoming Poetry in Public Places workshop, Attachment, happening throughout April as part of the Miami Poetry Festival, is Liliana and also Julia, coming to us from the Dominican Republic, and Liliana here in the studio. Good evening to both of you. Well, let's begin with what you're doing with the Miami Poetry Festival. How did y'all get involved in this project to be incorporated, especially as an LGBT focus event in Miami? How did you get involved, and what was the purpose?
So Liliana and I have been met each other during puberty, at high school, and our relationship has always been one of just like mutual admiration, but we've always, after graduating, we were always apart. We lived in different cities, so most of our relationship has developed through text and writing. So when we disconnected for a few years, but then she reached out during 2020 because she came to Puerto Rico because her grandmother passed away. And, we were talking, and we were just like, we have to do something together this year. Like, we really have to work on a project together. And we just started thinking about, back in high school, we were a fan of this project called Post Secret. And we wanted to do something that would enable writing, that would enable us to support the post office, that would just make people feel a little less alone. And I don't know if you want to add anything.
Sure, yeah. Pretty much this is a project open to obviously members of the LGBTQ plus community, but also allies, pretty much, as you said previously, anyone that has experienced isolation. As Julia mentioned, like, our personal experiences really inspired this project. When my grandmother passed away, thankfully it wasn't due to COVID. It was other complications, but COVID did make everything harder. So, for example, she passed away isolated. And as we were putting together this project and really feeling like, hey, we're connecting again, and we've really benefited emotionally, even psychologically from our connection, I thought of my grandmother. And I thought, maybe this could have made a huge difference for her as well, because the social isolation did worsen her situation. So it was definitely this need of connection that we satisfied amongst each other, but that we felt that we wanted to pay forward to everyone else in this Miami Day.
So if I understand this correctly, one of the principal goals of the project is to show that you're not alone and to be able to reach out in various different ways. Attachment Explain a little more, because especially with the embracement of the post office, it's a project that's really designed to be tactile, isn't it? In terms of actually writing and touching and mailing and being able to open messaging to show the relationship between two or more people. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely one of our North Star, so to speak. We've also found personally, and it's funny, as artists, we've individually and even collectively had this conversation with other artists, which is there's a certain pleasure and satisfaction in going back to basics in a lot of aspects during the quarantine. Like a lot of us have picked up baking hobbies, or I know I've bought way too many houseplants in the past year or so. So that is something that we definitely want to incentivize with our project. It's just that back to basics. Remember getting mail. Remember that there's a world out there. Remember that there's people that even though they're going through a lot of the same things that you are, because this is a global situation, there's also good in the world.
I'm curious,
yeah.
Is there, do you feel like, and I want to bring Faye in on this too, as you created this project for Miami, the Poetry Festival, is there any implementation differences that you see between LGBTQ people doing it versus allied outside of our community, or is there differences between lesbians doing it versus gay men or trans people? Have you detected so far any differences in terms of how we personally touch and communicate through your project?
I can answer that just because I've been dealing with the letters that we've gotten from the poets thus far. The poets were curated by Julia and me personally. It's either people that we know on a friend basis, or at least people that were familiar with their work throughout the American continent. So first off, for us, it was very important to be inclusive, but not only in gender and sexual identity, but also cultural. So it's funny because we've definitely had a lot of emotional letters, very wholesome, but I feel like the ones that have hit me the most are definitely from the LGBTQ plus community. And I feel like it's due to the fact that we definitely, in part of our process, we have to come to terms with our emotions, which I feel like maybe some of our allies or people not necessarily part of our community are confronted with all the time. So I feel like the works of our queer poets have been like raw and have really touched my heart.
Well, I've got to tell you guys, I love the idea. I love the idea. You know, during quarantine, everybody's like, during your birthday, everybody remembers last year when they celebrated their birthday and it sucked, right? Yeah. But when I got cards in the mail celebrating my birthday, it made me happy, and it took me back to basics, like Liliana and Julia are talking about. So how do we get involved with this? Can anybody get involved? Like, I want a letter from a poet.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
You can definitely log into omiami.org/submit, and in the first project you'll see add attachment. You can sign up to receive a letter from a poet. They're already being written, and anybody can receive one.
I want to provide a soundbite exclamation point to what you just said. So you go to omiami.org. And the submit has the add attachment link. And by completing that, you're going to get a letter from a poet.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Absolute.
We've extended our deadline recently. We will be letting recipients sign up until April 24th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And absolutely, we've actually had some people outside of South Florida that have signed up, and we still aim to send them out their letter. We do want to focus on the South Florida community, but basically if you're in the U.S. or U.S. territories, just feel free to apply.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it sounds like an absolute fantastic project. As somebody who, in fact, all three of us at Queer News Tonight, we live in our social media, and a Facebook post is just not quite the same as receiving a letter from a poet talking about whatever they're going to talk about in the reach out. And I can imagine, I agree with Faye, to get that in the mail and to be able to touch it, to open it and touch it and read it is a completely unique and highly personal experience.
And also helping our postal service, by using them more. I mean, I think it's genius. I love it.
Yeah. Well, Liliana and Julia, we thank you very much for being with us at Queer News tonight. And again, we remind everybody you can find out all of the details of Liliana and Julia's project by going to omiami.org. And click on the submit. You'll find it, add attachment, and all of the details you can find there. It sounds like an absolutely fantastic project. Congratulations on the idea. And congratulations on your success that the two of you decided, oh, let's do something good and fun together, because this is what it led to. That's absolutely awesome.
And thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to help people connect, because we all need that right now.
Yes, absolutely we do.
For sure.
Especially the LGBTQ community,
Amen.
which we've reported at Queer News Tonight over and over again about the health and mental consequences of the last year. So your project, in some small way, is a vaccine of its own. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Boricua sisters. So that is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news. We're the only LGBTQ television live video news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
Well, I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of anchors Faye What and David Hopkins, and congratulations to both of you on your new travel show happening Travel. We are going to see all of you daily, and by the way, that means tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night.
Good